morning, Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections 103.1. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host for this lovely morning. This morning is a paper and pen or take notes meeting. This morning we're gonna have a meeting, and I'm the host, and we're gonna talk about some things that's been coming up lately. Going on, if you've been reading the paper and just listening all together. These date rapes are getting kind of frequent, and some of us are getting misinformation about the what and the what do you do and the how and all those things. So we're going to go over that, and I'm going to go backwards first because that's where I'm going to start. First of all, if you've been the victim of rape, you go to the hospital, you want to see the SANE nurse, SANE, sexual assault nurse examiner. That's the only nurse you want to see. You don't want to see just any old nurse. You want to go and ask for that particular nurse. That particular nurse knows what she's doing. That's her specialty, well, one of her specialties. But that's the nurse that you want to see, male or female. That's the person you want to see. Now we're going to talk about the date rape drugs. And first, let's start off by killing a myth. Date rape drugs are not always put in alcohol. Because, the common thing everybody will tell you is, you get a mixed drink, or people always associate those with the club scene. Well, you can put date rape drug in your juice. Somebody can put one in your juice, put one in your soda. They can't put it in your water because it has a salty taste. But in your juice, sure. In your soda, yeah, sure. And in your alcohol. So don't just think, it's going to be just bam, she goes to the club. No, it can happen anywhere. It can happen at a barbecue, family out. It can happen anywhere. So we need to be careful of that. And also with the date rape drug, and I'll say, let's use the alcohol bottle. And let's say you're with, and I'll say male or female because both get raped. You see them pop over in the bottle, crack the lid, little noise you hear when it opens up, and he pours a drink for you, he or she pours a drink for you and themselves. And you're thinking, okay, I'm cool because I saw them open the bottle. No, not really. Because what someone could do is take that pill, crush it up to a powder form and swerve your glass. Therefore, your glass is already drugged. So when you drink it, you pour whatever you pour into the glass, and it's already there. So I want to dispel that myth and let you know what's going on. We're going to talk about the drugs. They have no color, no smell, and the taste is just a little salty. So can you tell that you're being drugged? No. The effects of the drug, you will feel them. Some of the drugs make you become weak. You start feeling a little confused. And some of the drugs you pass out. And we're going to talk about the drugs you passing out. We're also going to talk about how long they last in your system, because that becomes the biggest problem. You have a lot of women who wait too long and then they can't find them. These drugs, okay, if you take crack cocaine, stays in your system a long time because it's a destructive thing. So it stays in your system a long time. So you got some time. And any of the other street drugs, that you get addicted to, those stay in your system a long time. But these, they don't. So we're going to talk about one. One is called Rohypnol, but on the street it's called a roofie. It's mostly called the club drug. That's its name, the club drug. Now, don't get twisted. It's not always used in a club, but that's what its use came from, and it has replaced some of the other drugs that's been used. So Rohypnol is a roofie. So if somebody says something about that, that's what it is. It has about 12 or 13 different names, but that is the name from it. And it's also, you got to remember, it's tasteless. Well, tasteless in some things you have, but it's an odorless drink. And it does a lot of damage to your body. The other date rape drug is ketamine. But ketamine is known as Special K on the streets. So you got to remember, ketamine, Special K, roofie, Rohypnol. Those pills also the same. They're not, people always think it's at a club or a concert, at mixers you go to. No, it could be anywhere. So don't always, like I said, I'm going to keep saying that, don't always associate them with a club. with the club scene. Don't do that because you leave yourself open and vulnerable. Now, what do these drugs? Rohypnol, first of all, we'll go back to that. It comes in a pill form that dissolves in a liquid. It only takes a small amount. It's an oval shaped green and gray pill. And like I said, when it's slipped into your drink, and the dye, well, your drink causes it doesn't have a color. So it just makes the liquid look like it does. It doesn't do anything. It lasts in your body. It takes effect within like 30 minutes. You'll know that something's wrong. You'll feel that something's going on within 30 minutes. So if that happens to you within those 30 minutes, you need to find someone you know or get your phone, call 911 just to be safe. Don't just go through the motions of it and let it affect. So if it's given to you, you start feeling funny, you feel that you're talking kind of strange, not like you do, because you know how you're talking. And if you feel nauseated, you kind of not remembering things, then you need to grab your phone, call 911, or go to somebody that you know and say, hey, I need some help. I think I've been drugged. So you need to do that because you don't want nothing to happen to you. Now, after taking the effects of Rohypnol, it's a muscle relaxant. So you lose all control of your muscles. You have very difficult motor movement. You have a drunk feeling. You have a problem talking, nauseated. You can't remember what happened while on the drugs. Total loss of consciousness, mean you black out, confusion, problem seeing, dizziness, sleepiness, low blood pressure, and you can also develop stomach problems. And the last thing in all, it can cause a death. It actually can. All these drugs, they take between about 30 minutes to react, and they can last up to 3 and 4 hours. Now the problem becomes after it happens, you go into the doctor. That's when the time crunch comes in, because these drugs last in your body up to 72 hours. So, if it happens to you on a Sunday, you got 72 hours to get to the doctor. Whatever day, you have 72 hours. If you wait and think about it and call your friends and everybody talk about, okay, should I, would, or whatever, those 72 hours are going to be up and you won't be able to prove anything. You'll be stuck because you won't be able to say anything happened. You'll be able to say something happened, but when they test your blood in your urine, it won't show up. So, beware. Now, ketamine, which is Special K, it's fast acting. It acts real quick. So in a matter of minutes, it takes 15 minutes other than 30, you'll feel like you've been drugged. And you'll be distorted as far as your sight and sound. You'll have total loss of time and identity. You have out-of-the-body experiences, like you're dreaming, feeling out of control, impaired, problems breathing. You can also go into convulsions. Those are numbness. Your blood pressure goes sky high and your speech is slurred. Now, are all these drugs legal in the United States? Of course not. But guess what? Rohypnol, which is, remember, roofie, it is not legal in the United States. It's legal in Europe, Mexico, and all those other places because it's used for people with sleep problems. I bet you it is. Now, ketamine, which means, remember, it's Special K, it is legal in the United States. It's used as an anesthesia for humans and animals. But it's mostly used on animals. So ketamine, Special K, is legal in the United States. The other one is GHB. It was made legal in the United States to treat problems with sleeping disorders. So it's legal to use. So you gotta be careful of those three. The other thing you need to be careful of, and like I said, mindful of, is remember the time. The time that when this happens to the time you come to, you have a time limit on getting to the doctor. You actually do. So, don't think that you got a lot of time. And also remember, it does not have to be in your alcoholic beverage. It could be in your juice. It could be in your soda. So be mindful wherever you go, whatever you're doing, male or female. So, because like I said, both get raped, but you got to be mindful of what you're doing and who you're with, and be careful what you're drinking. If just because their bottle is cracked, you see them turn that top and it's a brand new bottle, and you happy thinking, okay, all right, the bottle open, but it could have been the glass. So I can swap. You can actually do the glass. You can just take, and nobody's going to pay attention to that. Because if someone's opens up a new bottle of something, you're assuming that it's all okay because you saw them open the bottle, when in actuality they could have did the cup and you didn't know about it. Now, the people who, and I'll say the men, women, whatever, who do participate in date raping someone else, they also have a high number of men and women, especially men, they buy the morning after pill. They actually go buy it. And they'll buy more than one, because you can buy more than one. So while you're out of it and you're being raped, shortly after that, they're going to give you a morning after pill to take, swallow, and you will, because you have no control. So they even gotten that good now and that smart that they will, give you the morning after pill, and you're not going to get pregnant, but they're going to make sure that that doesn't happen. And they're not doing it for you, they're doing it for them, because if you become pregnant, then it's another way of catching up who they are. So we need to be mindful of all those things. And I know it's a whole lot to remember, to write down, but you can look online and find out more information, and you need to. And like I said, the reason we're talking about it, because lately it's been up there and out there. And last week I talked to a lady, and she had been date raped, and the first thing she said was, he told her to hit the bottle. She looked at the bottle, he had just opened it up, so she assumed everything was fine, and it wasn't. I'll say she ended up being a sex slave for a whole weekend. And it was because, hey, she trusted that he busted the label on the bottle. It was brand new. So as far as and it was a glass bottle, so you can't say he injected it with a syringe. No, she saw him open the bottle. But we talked, and I let her know then it was the glass. And like I said, she ended up being his sex slave for a weekend. So she can remember bits and pieces of what happened, but she can't piece it all together, and that's terrifying to know that happens. And that didn't happen at a club. They weren't at a club. She knew him. Well, she assumed she knew him. So they weren't at a club. They were somewhere else, and it happened. So like I said, get rid of the club thought. Just drop it out of your mind. And if you're a mother, you got children, grandchildren, whatever, just don't say it's the club only, because then you allow them to be relaxed someplace else when they need to always be on guard. And they need to be on guard. Forget the looking at the bottle, and yes, it just opened. It could be the glass. So we need to remember that. Like I said, remember, it doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be juice. It could be a soda. Can't be water because of salty taste, and water is not salty. It has no taste. But your juice would be great because it's salty. So the saltiness of the drugs will be masked by that juice and that soda. So like I said, please remember that as times go on, because it's getting to be more prevalent, which means we're relaxing more, but also it means that we've tagged something somewhere where it shouldn't be. What I mean by tagging, I'll say it again, we always assume that it was always at the clubs, when in actuality, it's not always in the clubs. So we need to always remember that. And remember, too, you have up to 72 hours to go to see the SANE, SANE nurse, to get examined. Got to remember that. And you also need to write down as soon as you get yourself together. And it is a traumatic experience, I'll admit. Yes, I read it and everything like that. So yes, it would be a traumatic experience, but after that, you need to go into action. And what I mean by going into action, yes, you go to the hospital, get tested, get all that done. Then you need to immediately write your report, because you're going to go to the police department. And that can be a whole different ballgame that you're not ready for, but unfortunately, you got to do it as quick as possible, because the longer you wait, the less you're going to remember. So when you get to the police department and you file your report, First thing you do is the person you give the report to, make sure you get their badge number and their phone number. You want their phone number. And also your report that you follow with the police has a number to it. So that incident code, that case number code is on that paper. So you remember, you keep that. Don't throw it away. You keep that. But you make sure you get that person who you gave it to, get their name, cell phone number, and you want their supervisor's name and phone number. You want all that. Reason why you want that is because that person doesn't do their job, then you know who to contact, and you won't be contacting any and everybody in the police department. You'll say, I talked to Lieutenant, I talked to, the desk sergeant, and I don't know what they did with it, but here's my number, and here's her supervisor, his or her supervisor's number, so you can readily go back and be in control of the incident and of how it's followed, rather than, you losing control of it because you didn't follow the simple steps. And like I said, when the tragic happens, the last thing you remember is the simple steps you need to follow. But you have to remember them because that saves you. It gets your case done. It helps move everything in a faster pace because once again, don't listen to the friends say, oh, you know what, don't even worry about it. They're not going to do anything. No, don't listen to that. You need to follow your steps. So first thing, after rape is taking place, don't take a shower. Number one, don't throw the clothes in the trash. Don't do any of those things. Keep on what you have on, what you wore, and go straight to the hospital, get checked out. Go to the police department, fill out your report. And when you fill out your report, fill it out from the beginning to the end. And what I mean by beginning to the end, such as when I say fill it out, you got to go to the beginning of what happened. Like, I arrived at such and such a place at 3 o'clock or 8 o'clock. When I got there, this happened and that happened. Because if you start from the beginning of I got there at this time, then you're more likely to remember the rest of the story. Don't go to I drunk my drink and go from the beginning, because if you go from the beginning, your mind will take you through all the steps so that you won't forget any of it and you will remember the whole thing. Like I said, yes, it's a traumatic experience, but we got to do that. Now that I've told you what can happen and what those drugs do, let's talk about how you can protect yourself from being a victim. One, don't accept drinks from other people. Open a container yourself, but also not only open a container yourself, but that glass. Remember the glass, because it can be the glass as well as the open container. So don't just say, the open. So let's add on to the open container is beware of the glass. And keep your drink with you at all times. Even when you go to the bathroom, yes, take your drink with you. Sounds weird, but yes, don't share drinks. Don't drink from a punch bowl or any common open containers, because they could already have drugs in them. So yes, they could be drugging multiple people. If someone else offers you a drink at a party in a bar, and you didn't order it, then don't drink it, don't accept it. And that nice person at the end ordered, no, don't do that, don't do anything. If you're drinking something and it tastes salty and that drink is not salty, then something is in it, and it's most likely one of the drugs we talked about, because it has a salty taste. Leave it alone. You don't want that. And if you're going to a club, let's go back. Let's say if you are going to a club, take someone with you who does not drink, because that person would better be the person that saves you. And if you suddenly realize that, oh man, I left my drink unattended, something happened, leave it alone. Pour it out, give it back, just sit there and don't have it. And also remember, let's go back to, it doesn't always have to be an alcoholic drink, so we're not going to go there. Okay, are there ways to tell that I might have been drugged or raped? Yes. Sometimes it is hard to tell because of the drug you had and the interaction it has with your body. So sometimes it is hard for you to remember it, but you will remember that you were drugged because you woke up feeling drunk, and you might not have had any alcohol. So but you're feeling drunk. You wake up feeling hungover, disoriented, loss of memory, loss of track of time. You've been drugged. you remember having a drink, but you can't recall anything after that, so you know something's wrong. Then you find your clothes torn or not on right, something's wrong with that. You feel like you've had sex, but you can't remember it. Yes, you've been drugged. You need to remember it. You have been, and like I said, quickly, immediately, you got 72 hours. Don't go to the bathroom. Don't brush your teeth. Don't wash your hands. Don't change your clothes. Don't do anything. Just go straight to the hospital. You want to see the same nurse, and she's going to do a rape kit on you as the evidence of your rape. Then after that, you go to the police department. You tell them what happened, and you honestly tell them what happened. Don't try to skip, I don't want to tell him that part. I don't want to tell him that part. No, because those parts that you missed telling him are important, him or her, to your case. So don't say, I don't want to say this and I don't want to say that. Say it. When they ask you for a urine analysis test, yes, you have to do it. Because like I said, remember, those drugs leave your system quickly. They don't stay in there long. The longest one stays in your system 72 hours. So the first thing you need to do is that. If he says you need to go yes, you do need to go to the restroom. You follow the rules. You give up all the information that you can. Whatever information that's out there that you remember, say it. Talk to them. But like I said, if you want to know the best way to remember how to let the police know what happened is to go back to, I got there at 8 o'clock, 8:15. I sat at a table, or if you had a barbecue, I got to the barbecue at 3. I sat down, I walked around, talked to some friends. You might say this is not important, but it's important because mentally we remember things that way. Because if you go straight to, I had a drink at 4, I drank some orange juice at 4 o'clock, you're not so applicable to remember the whole steps. But if you go back to the beginning and write it down that way, the police will understand. And also be ready for the questions. When you give a police report, they're going to ask you some questions about it. Be prepared for that. Be ready to ask that questions, because if you leave something out, he or she who's questioning you will have to fill that in. And like I said, the small things that you think are, nobody really cares about that. That is not really important. It is important. So remember everything that happened. Go to the hospital. Remember, after 72 hours, the drink's gone. So there's nothing, I'm not going to say nothing you can do about it, but you can't prove you were date raped because it's gone. And, I know people say, well, drugs go into your hair and stay in there for a long time. These aren't those kind of drugs. You need to remember that. These are not those kind of drugs, so don't put them in that category, because that's not where they go. They're not in that category. So we're going to go back. Remember that Rohypnol? It's called a roofie. It has many other names, but the name that you mostly hear is a roofie. The other one, I mentioned it a little bit, but GHB, it's called Easy Lay. G-Juice is one of its names that's on the street. Salt water. Sounds kind of strange because people do drinks to salt water. You remember that one. And ketamine, which is Special K. So those are the names of the drugs that you can be given at an event. And we'll leave it at event because I want you to wrap it around your brain of the word event. And I want you to take out of your brain the word that the clubs. Get rid of that, because when you only say the clubs, then you're putting it on to one area, and you're saying this is it, and that's not actually true. There's more to it than that. So let's not say, oh yes, she went to the club and that's what happened, or this is what will happen when you go. No, don't do that. Don't say that, because it's not necessarily so. So I want us to be smarter and be more powerful and be more in control. Now, what I'm saying is, remember, it doesn't just go for women; it goes for men too, because men are raped. They might not want. They might say no, they're not, but they can be, and they are. That does happen to men. So we need to be mindful of that also. I know it's a lot that I'm saying, and it's a lot that I'm telling you that we need to know, but the times that we live in right now, we need all the information that we can have. And please pass it on. If you know someone else is going through this, or going through this, or if you know someone who's y'all just talking in everyday conversation, bring it up and talk about it. Because, the more we talk about it, the more we know. And the more informed we are, and the more aware, we are of things about them, the more we talk about it. Things happen more and more and more when we're quiet, when we're silent, when we don't say anything. And, also things get worse when you tell your girlfriends or men sit around and talk about it. Oh, yeah, but don't talk, man, don't even do that. Oh, girl, don't do that. Don't call them. It'll embarrass you. Don't let that influence you into not doing what you're supposed to do. So I hope that you took notes on our first half of our show. I gave a whole bunch of information, so I hope you have it. But also, that word Google still works, so you can Google the information, and you need to keep it into your head. So we're going to take a break and come right back.